Howdy.
You might tell they just
You know you're in Aggieland when you hear somebody say howdy, right? So we have a lot of action here, but we're going to have a lot of fun tonight, and we look forward to bringing this forum to you so we have an educated voter, and that's what this is all about. And we're especially thankful tonight. Anybody who participated in the planning, please stand or raise your hand or something. I don't want to embarrass you, but I will if I have to. Thank you very much. As we get to the candidates, or before we get to the candidates, for other people to thank, I want to thank Scott T. Armstrong for getting on the mic, playing a little music for us. I want to thank T-Span TX Texas for their video tonight. We want to also thank Michael Quinn Sullivan's group, Texas Scorecard. So if you look over and you see a lot of equipment there, that's Michael Quinn Sullivan's group. And this event will be live streamed statewide. So candidates, I hope to show. Who else? We want to thank Jody and the Tea Party for all of your assistance as always. It's very nice that you always step up, and the Tea Party groups always step up. But friends and family here tonight, we really appreciate you coming. So I think with that, Susan, we want to go. Next up, I'm going to have to stand out here. That's what I'm have. All right, so let's welcome up Jody from the Tea Party. Come on, Jody.
All right, let's all stand and we can pray together. Lord, we come together to accomplish something tonight, and we're looking for your blessing on this evening, that it would accomplish what you want it to accomplish. We know you know each heart here, and we know that you lead us to do different things. We ask your blessing on these candidates, because they're stepping out in an uncomfortable place to put themselves in front of other people and tell them what they're all about. We're here to listen to that tonight, and we pray you would your hand would be upon them to express themselves clearly. We pray for our moderators that they can ask those questions that need to be asked. So we ask your blessing on this entire evening, and we give you thanks for it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Let's welcome up Susan Lucas for our pledges.
Okay, we'll start as always with the pledge to the American flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Yeah!
Does anybody say the Texas flag better than Mark Coppin? I think not.
We got better e-house in the back row here.
If we have any local or regional elected officials here tonight, please stand. Hi, Roy. Are you hiding in the back? You can't. Good to see you, Judge Wise. I see Betty Peters. She's trying to sneak in over here. How are you? It's good to see you. Who else? Anybody else? Nobody else. All right. Any other local candidates for office this go around? How are you? Maritza? Oh, yes. And Silas? Russ? Who else do we have? Steve. Hi, Steve. Howdy. Is that it? We want to make sure we recognize all of them. Okay. Yeah.
I'm a candidate.
Yes, sir.
Fred Medina. You don't want me to talk.
It's good to meet you.
Good to meet you, sir.
Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to pull out my phone because we're going to introduce our moderators now. First up, I want to introduce Michael, if you'll please stand. I'm going to embarrass Michael just a little bit. Michael, as you know, I'm going to read his official bio and then embarrass you, Michael. So, Michael Quinn Sullivan is the publisher of Texas Scorecard. He's a native Texan, a graduate at Texas A&M, and an Eagle Scout. Previously, he has worked as a newspaper reporter, magazine contributor, Capitol Hill staffer, and think tank vice president. Michael and his wife have 3 adult children, a son-in-law, and a dog. Michael is the author of 3 books, including Reflections on Life and Liberty. And as I was cleaning the other day, I got to tell you, this guy's been fighting this fight for a long time. I ran across, does it look familiar, Michael? This publication was when he was with TPPF, Texas Public Policy Foundation. It is the Veritas reprint, volume 3, number 2, from March 2002. Thank you, Michael, for all you've done. I'm going to give you a big round of applause. Okay. What do I do with my phone?
On the chair.
Here we go. Lisa. I got to flip through my phone here real quick. Get these. Okay, Lisa Cordana Craig's life is deeply rooted in community and family. Born in 1971 in Del Rio, to then Val Verde County Commissioner Val Cadena Sr., Commissioner from 62 to 74, Val Verde County Judge in the 1990s. She comes from a political background, I guess it's safe to say. And Farisa Cadena, a local businesswoman. She graduated from Del Rio High and Texas A&M in 1993. Lisa entered the real estate field in 2000, achieving the status of broker in 2003. That's a big deal. During her tenure as city council member in Del Rio from 2006 to 10, Lisa led the drive the Del Rio Police Officers Meet and Conifer Committee, served on the DR Planning and Zoning Committee, and collaborated with the City Council to realize the construction of a new police station. 2015, she assumed the role of president of the Del Rio Main Street Advisory Board, contributing to the revitalization of historic downtown Del Rio. I appreciate that, downtown business owner. Upon moving to College Station in 2019, Lisa continued her real estate career, currently working as a broker associate with Keller Williams Realty in Brazos Valley. Lisa has contributed locally as the director of the Bryan College Station Regional Association of Realtors and successfully completed the Texas Realtor Leadership Program in 2022. Above all, Lisa is a proud and grateful mother of 3 beautiful daughters and an avid supporter of Texas A&M University programs and athletics. Woo. Oh, man, that was...
Sorry, there's a lot.
Our third moderator this evening is Morgan Mangan, a local from right here in College Station, Texas. She is a Dallas, Texas native who relocated to Brazos County in 2008. She graduated from the College of Architecture at Texas A&M University and owns 2 businesses in Bryan College Station. Morgan is a 3-time Aggie 100 honoree. Congratulations. And the current Brazos County Precinct Chair for Precinct 73. But her greatest accomplishment is being a proud Christian wife and mother to 2 wonderful children. Let's give it up for our moderator. Mark Copper. There you go. All right. Come on up, Mark. Mark is our official timekeeper. Would you kindly go over the rules?
Okay, a 30-second. So Susan's going to have, they're going to have the time limit for each question up on the screen. The candidates will hear them, and then they'll also see that up there. And so I'm just going to keep a timer, and so we keep everything going on time. You know, I'll give them a 30-second warning, 10-second, and then basically we'll have them get off the stage once it's, conclude the current thought at the end of their time. So we'll just keep everything going at a good pace, and I won't need to take it any further.
Thank you, Mark. So all of our questions have been hidden at the bottom of Aggie Lake. Morgan dove down this morning and got them. So they've been under lock and key so that none of the candidates could access them. So, as you see, Texas Scorecard, we're proud of their support this evening. Now, are we ready to introduce the candidates? So, first up, I want to introduce Mr. Ben Bius. Would you please come up, sir? Ben is a longtime businessman in Texas. Thank you for joining us this evening, Ben. Next on the list is John Harvey Slocum. John apparently had, sorry. Yes, well, sorry. We only say left in this situation.
Stage something.
Yeah, there you go. John Harvey Slocum had to bow out of the forum this evening because he had a prior event that he committed to in Washington County. Next up is Trey Wharton. Trey is another Huntsville, Texas native and president of the school board currently, or yes?
Just resigned.
You just resigned.
This race.
Okay, so there you have it. He is immediate past president of the school board here. And Trey, we're thankful that you came over this evening as well. So if you'll take your seat, I think we're going to be ready, aren't we, guys? All right. All right. There's your format. I really wish that we had one of these that you guys could easily access. But, okay, so the allotted times, the introduction statement for both of you will be 3 minutes. Then we will go to bullet questions, which are 10 seconds. All other questions, including closing remarks, as stated. As Mark just went over with the timekeeper, are there any questions on that for the candidates? Okay. The Mark is carrying tonight too, so don't make it. So without further ado, I think, are you guys ready to get rolling here? Ready? Hello?
Gentlemen, if you would both please provide for everyone your opening remarks, what you think the top 2 legislative priorities for the 2025 session should be, and you each have an astonishing 3 minutes to do that. You both have to say your name in at least 2.5 minutes. So why don't we start with Mr. Wharton, and you can go first.
All right. Thank you for having us this evening. As I said, I'm from Huntsville. I grew up there. I went and captured my wife, brought her back from college so we could raise our family in a conservative Christian atmosphere that we both grew up in. She's from Weatherford. And so we raised a family, and I started a business, and the whole time I was running a business and we were raising the family, I was also giving back on different levels for the community, and that would have been, as he stated a few minutes ago, I just resigned from the school board in Huntsville. I had been on 8 years. I was the immediate past president for the last 3. And when I joined it, we were an F-rated campus, probably about to be taken over, our school district about to be taken over by the state, but we got it to a C, and then it all got frozen during because of COVID. And then we've had a lot of gains, and that was a full team effort of the entire community coming together because it was not good for anyone. So that being said, I was also on the Chamber of Commerce board for 7 years, and I was the chairman for 1 year, and I was the chairman and president for half of that year because we didn't have a president, so I was unpaid again to help out. And so I had to bring the whole board in order to make it a viable chamber for the members so that we made sure we were doing the right things for the community to kind of grow the business and whatnot and give back. I've also been on the hospital board, but I resigned from that also in order to give more time to this. But you said the issues in the next session, right? The number one is going to be the border. That's completely obvious. We have to come down and support Governor Abbott and what he's doing in order to do that because it's invading all of our lives, and we're in the district that has probably the biggest influx. We're going to have a huge amount of growth because we got I-45, Highway 6, and 290, and we're not going to be able to manage this if we're not all working together. So you're going to have the state, the counties, and the local officials all working together in order to manage the growth because none of us want our homes to look like Houston. That's why we don't live there. So, and the other one would be, I guess the next one, that would be the integrity of the election. So we need to make sure that's going to be taken care of, and we'll secure that even more. So I don't like the same day voting registration. So and I want to make sure we're IDing everybody to be able to vote. So to make sure we're actually the people that are saying they're voting. That's actually who it is. So I don't need the full 3 months.
Bravo.
My name is Bius. I'm a conservative businessman from Huntsville, Texas, and I'll tell you how far I go back. I remember when Michael first started having his breakfasts over in Austin, I would attend. And Michael, thank you for fighting for Texas for so long and so bravely. The theme of my campaign is Let's Take Back Texas. Today, that means the most important thing that I want to do is pass term limits for the Speaker of the House to 1 session. That's the way it was for 120 years. And we didn't have a Speaker that would create an impeachment and an embarrassment to Texas and try to overturn elections. We didn't have a Speaker that kowtowed to the lobby. The members had power. If you elect me to be your state representative, I'm working real hard to represent you, and I don't believe I should go over and be a backbencher if I don't agree with the Speaker of the House. This is the most important thing we do. It's the second vote that we take. And I'm going to vote for a conservative Speaker, and I believe Mr. Phelan has been disqualified. But more important, if we don't elect Donald Trump, we will not be able to finally secure our border. I'm a proud supporter of Donald Trump. But I believe that we can secure our border. 2 years ago, when I was in this race against an incumbent in Calvert, Texas, Pete Sessions, Congressman, and I were standing there. We talked about Article 4 of the United States Constitution, invasion. Either the President can declare it or the Congress can. And I believe that the delegation to Washington and the United States Congress should declare an invasion. And I will fight for that. I'll work with those guys to do it. But even closer to home, when I say take back Texas, I mean let's take back our schools, let's take back our classroom, let's support our teachers. I had a friend that was a mentor, helped raise me in business. He was my business partner. His name was Mance Park. Mance was superintendent of the schools in the old days before the liberal invasion of our schools. He said if you want to have a good school, you hire a good teacher, you pay them fairly, you give them control of the classroom, and you back them up. Everything else is secondary. COVID has taught us that we have to restore our public schools, and we have to restore the independence of the independent school district and do away with state and federal unfunded mandates. I'm pro-choice, pro-school choice, forgive me. I rest. I'm so sorry I said that. But anyway, you know what I mean? I'm being biased. Let's take back Texas. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, gentlemen, for your opening remarks. As you can guess from my bio that you heard read, I'm from Del Rio, Texas. And so your first question is obviously about the border. So the question reads, and forgive me, I need my glasses now. I got a little crazy with that. At least 7 million people have crossed into our country illegally in the past 3 years. These people will be counted in the next census and affect representation for each state, even if they do not vote. The governor declared an invasion regarding our southern border. What would you propose to solve the problem? You have 1 minute. Yes, sir.
Well, I believe it's imperative that we identify these folks that are in our country illegally. We need to know where these potential terrorists and these folks live, reside, what they're doing here, and make sure that they show up for their hearing. Secondly, the bill that just became effective that allowed Texas to arrest, detain, and prosecute for a state jail felony of trespass needs to be enforced. That's going to be a big deal. I believe that we should go even further in the next legislative session and make sure that we can identify who is living in Texas. what they're doing in Texas and that they're complying with the law.
You ready? I don't mess up the clock either. Okay, so, no, I think we need, the biggest thing is to be able to equip the law enforcement to be able to handle that more readily, to be able to fingerprint on site, to be able to document this stuff, and then you can arrest, and you have documentation of that person, and you can get them out of here as fast as possible. The other problem is we can't keep putting the people in the county jails and have an unfunded mandate to the counties where we're paying for that, and it's the state that's making us do it. So that's the other thing we need to do with that, is get rid of the unfunded mandates regarding that.
Sticking with border security for a second, folks have pointed to the magnets that seem to draw in illegal aliens, whether it's education, healthcare, other benefits. What would you propose to do to address the dollars flowing to illegal aliens from the taxpayers that again serve as a magnet? We'll start with you, Wharton.
What do you say, pro? What? No, that goes back to being able to equip the law enforcement, to be able to deputize more people, to be able to handle that. That's more money, but we've got to be able to protect more of us so that we don't see the influx into each of our communities that we're seeing now. Because we're responsible for all that, whether we want to be or not. And we've got to cut that back and send the people back where they came from. I don't mind them coming here, just come here legally, and then that way we have to go to their country legally. They should come here legally.
That's a very tough question. And my solution to it, as I'm thinking of it now, is once we identify who these people are, where they're living, what they're doing, then I believe that they need to be taxed, just like the rest of us. If they go to the Western Union and ship money back overseas, it needs to be taxed. We don't need to let people come here and get a free ride. For hundreds of years, we had immigrants come to America, assimilate, and become a very important part of America. But right now we have a criminal organization in Washington, D.C. that wants to give away your hard-earned money. This has got to end. It's unsustainable. And I don't have all the answers, I can assure you of that, but I will listen. I've spent a lot of time going around listening to try to find out what the great solutions are. And there are some good leaders, conservative leaders, in the Texas House and Senate that I'm going to work closely with.
This next section's on election integrity. Recent polling determines that over 60% of likely voters believe that the voting process is flawed in many places in our country. What would you do to restore confidence in our voting process in Texas?
Well, I ran in Deep East Texas for Texas House of Representatives. I was the Republican nominee in '98 and 2000. And they found a ballot box at 3 a.m. and then there was a wet ballot trick. So all these tricks are old. You know, in Texas, they've been stealing elections for a long time. We need to do something about it. I personally hope that in the Republican primary, we don't have that problem. In the general election, we will, and I'm not sure exactly what to do about it. We have human beings, and if a human being commits a crime, and that's a horrible crime, I say they get prosecuted. And I believe that we should allow the Attorney General to have a say in that as well.
Can you repeat the whole question again?
I can. Recent polling determines that over 60% of likely voters believe that the voting process is flawed in many places in our country. What would you do to restore confidence in our voting process in Texas?
I would limit the mail-in ballots. That would make sure that we have at least bring that down a little bit. Once again, it goes back to ID and making sure that the people on the rolls are actually still alive, still live where they are. And I have to agree with, we're going to have to get the Attorney General in order to make sure that we don't do that. That is the biggest right we have is to vote. And my wife and I got mad at our kids their first time they could vote. They were like, I may go vote or not. I'm like, no, you don't understand. You have to go vote. So my grandfather was in a coma, my mom said, and he woke up on election day. And it's a true story. My grandmother said, what are you doing? And he said, it's election day. How did he know? But anyway, so it is crucial.
Continuing along with the same topic of election integrity, what is your opinion on a constitutional amendment change to allow the Texas Attorney General prosecution authority and standing in election fraud cases? You have 30 seconds.
Well, I support that wholeheartedly. I can't see really why that's a constitutional question. I think it ought to be statutory, but I'm sure there's somebody that believes it needs to be constitutional. And if we can do it statutorily, I will do that.
If it's the law, we need to follow it, so. You have to get your timer ready.
Staying with elections for a moment, there have been calls to close the primaries in Texas to prevent individuals from day of deciding to vote Democrat or Republican. It is much of a legislative question as it is a political party question. As a state legislator, what would your position be on closing the primaries in Texas, requiring advance registration by party?
I have to agree with that because I've witnessed it firsthand where I know people that are Democrats are showing up and voting Republican, and they're voting for the weakest candidate in order to make it more difficult for the best candidate to win. And so I fully agree with that. Something needs to be done, and we put something in place so that you can't cross the party line just to mess up the other elections.
Well, I've experienced it firsthand, and I know exactly what you're speaking of. And yes, we need to have a closed primary. How we do that, it seems to me the Republican Party, this is the Republican Party's primary, we ought to be able to pass that rule in the Republican Party without legislative from the Texas legislature. However, if that is required, that's what we'll do. Thank you.
Jumping to finance and economy. Much damage was done to small businesses in our state during the COVID-19 pandemic. What measures would you take publicly and legislatively to protect our small business community?
Well, I own a small business, and so I completely relate to this. I mean, Mr. Bius does too, so does his wife. It's crucial. Most of us probably in here own a small business or work for a small business. And we have got to make sure that's the livelihood, especially of most of the communities in District 12 are the small businesses. And so we've got to be able to provide support and be able to get grants and some funded things instead of unfunded in order to keep that alive, because there are several people that work in there that have families as well. So I mean, I have a very small business, but I have four employees, and 2 of them have families. So that's about 15 people that are affected if you're not helping a small business. So take that on a larger scale, and you can see what it would do to us if we don't look after them.
Yeah, I've been a small businessman all my life. My wife is. We live it. My family, since the middle of the 1800s, have been farmers and merchants and ranchers. And today, it's getting increasingly difficult because of excessive regulation by counties and municipal governments. Today, I had a nightmare conversation, and fortunately, we have a good city council in Huntsville, but we have run amok bureaucrats in some of these municipalities that need to be reined in. And the legislature has passed legislation to make them be more responsive instead of slow walk, stonewall, kick the can down the road, and they just thump their nose. So I was just endorsed by the Texas Association of Realtors, and part of that is because of my extensive knowledge in these areas that affect small business.
Keeping with the same topic of finance and economy, what would you see as the first steps to totally eliminate property taxes in Texas? You have 1 minute.
Okay. I wasn't keeping track. I pay a lot of property taxes. I'm in the real estate business, and we pay a lot of property taxes. And I guess I should say I'm glad we're not getting all the government I'm paying for. To eliminate property taxes requires local issues. All property taxes come from the cities, counties, schools, hospital districts, etc. I don't know of a good plan at this time to do that. I certainly would like to eliminate it. I've studied the TPP, Texas Public Policy Foundation's point of view to eliminate taxes. But I'm a Republican, and I believe in a Republican form of government. I will help the counties, the schools, the hospitals eliminate property tax if that's what they want to do. I will assist them if that's what they want to do. But they raise the taxes, they set the tax rates, they spend the money. And the legislature needs to enable local control. STOP, what is that?
Well, I was in the middle of that on the property taxes since I was on the school board. And we took the tax rate from $1.18 when I got on there down to 86 cents. So we worked diligently to still offer the ability to have strong schools, but we needed to be able to provide some relief. There is a surplus in the state. We need to figure out how to do that. That's going to be a task force, but you're going to have to put something together in order to bring the property taxes down, which I think we could all agree we would love to see get rid of. But that's going to be a long, thought out process to see what works and is fair to everyone. So, but it's not easy, but I think it can be done, and I'm all for that.
So staying with the economy, do you believe that science is conclusive behind the federal government spending on climate change? Why? And you have 30 seconds to answer that.
No?
He did better in school than I did, I'm sure. No, the science is certainly not conclusive. The science is cooked and baked and made to order. Climate change, you know about artificial intelligence. Well, one of my sons is a computer designer, and so he's told me about this artificial intelligence site. So I called the I said, does the sun's declination in the spring and summer have any effect on the globe's heat? Oh no, it's due to something. It was an incorrect answer. It didn't know the sun caused global warming.
Should Texas establish?
I said no.
He said no. Yeah, one word answer.
It was easy.
Last finance and economy question. Should Texas establish its own gold and silver-based monetary system that includes a depository for use for private citizens' transactions? You have 30 seconds.
Yes, I think it should. We don't need the Great Reset to come about, and that would be one way so that we would make sure we keep our monies and our investments, because if the Great Reset happens the way we have it now, it's probably all gone. So, yes, we need to put something in place for that.
I'm not sure. I haven't studied that thoroughly, but I do believe that our currency should be hard currency, and that we shouldn't print money like drunk Indians and debase the currency of the United States of America. And that I believe if Texas did have its own currency, we have the wealth to back it up, and I believe that's why we're being invaded from the north.
Okay, gentlemen, it changes to view of the Republican Party of Texas. Your question is, have you read the Republican Party platform, and will you pledge to follow the platform? If there is anything you disagree with, tell us now. You have 1 minute.
You know, I've been doing this a long time. Back in the 80s, I was a precinct chair. I've been to several conventions. I helped make this platform. There's nothing in there that I'm aware of that I disagree with. I do want to say one thing. There was a strong move to not take the rainy day fund and return it to the taxpayers in the form of tax reduction. Back when I first met Mr. Sullivan, I was the founder and president of the Home and Landowners Association of Texas. We worked with Warren Chisholm and got $1.8 billion of that money returned to the taxpayers. I don't believe that the state of Texas has a right to tax us excessively and hold our money. It does a whole lot better when it's in your pocket and you put it to work. So this is a balanced budget state, and I just wanted to get that in because I remember it.
Can you ask the question again? Because you got me sidetracked.
Certainly. Have you read the Republican Party platform? And will you pledge to follow the platform? If there is anything you disagree with, tell us now.
Yes, no, I read that 40-something page document, and it may have been while I was awake at night or something, I was trying to go back to sleep. But yes, I read it, and I don't disagree with anything in it. So I can't answer the question though, so, because I agree with everything that's in there, so, and I've read it 3 or 4 times, so.
You have 30 seconds to respond to this question. Do you support the current Texas Speaker naming members of the minority party to chair committees? If yes, why?
That'd be no, so I guess I can sit back down again. No, I do not support that, because here's my philosophy on that. If this is a Republican-controlled state, we're in charge. We should have Republicans that are in charge of the committees. Otherwise, we don't get things through the committees that we want done and see processed for our constituents. So if the shoe was on the other foot and the Democrats were in charge, do you think they'd have a Republican be one of the chairs? No, they wouldn't. So why are we doing it?
I've been studying the history of the Texas House and the Speaker, and when there were all of a sudden party chairs from other parties. The Democrats, for 100 years, never let there be a Republican. Of course, there was very few Republicans at all. When the Democrats started losing control, I think Pete Laney allowed a few Republican chairs. I do not support allowing Democrat chairs to serve. And when I say that we can need to not do that.
Okay, new section, my personal favorite, education. Are children the responsibility of their parents, the school board, or the state? You have 30 seconds.
If you get one of my cards, you'll see on the bottom clearly when I say let's take back our schools, let's take back our classrooms. After all, it's our nation, it's our money, and they're our children. And the left believes otherwise. That today is probably the largest philosophical battle that we're going to face. They believe it's their money, their children, and they don't respect our right to raise our children. And they've invaded our schools, and I'm sending them home.
So I have to agree that the parents, that's their children. They should be able to decide what to do with them. So that's the quick answer. I don't need the 30 seconds, so you're welcome.
Well, with that being said, the next question is this. What will you do to ensure that parents have the final say about what their kids learn and do? You have 1 minute.
1 minute? I won't need others. So, no, so I haven't been on the school board. You have the state that comes in and tells you everything you have to do, and sometimes, a lot of times, it doesn't make any sense. So if you give the parents the rights to do what they think is best, then that's the way it should be. I think everybody working together, as I've been involved with, and especially in this district, it's a rural district, and so there are more families involved with the Christian background that are not having things done that are happening in the big city. That's usually where the problem is the large Democrat-controlled cities. It's not our towns. But we should have the right, if we don't think our child is learning the way they should be, to put them in a better atmosphere. My wife was a school teacher, elementary teacher for 14 years. And she had students every year. It was like, this is not the best environment. We've got to do something else. So, and those options are there now. And I'll sit down before you say stop.
Staying with public education, this is a 30-second question.
Wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're done. Okay.
The parent and the family is sacrosanct, and we won't do anything to interfere in them, and we'll fight the liberals every chance we get. I don't know, it's going to be a battle for the rest of our lives. And we're going to have to fight that battle, and we have to join together. This is a group task to make sure we keep America and our children safe.
I apologize, Mr. Bius.
That's okay.
Moving on to another question here in education. What's your position regarding school choice? This is a 30-second question.
I'm for school choice, but I believe the more important question is, let's take back our classrooms. Let's support the teachers. Let's support the parents. After all, it's our children and it's our money. And I believe that we can go a long way toward improving our public education system by supporting the teachers, making sure that they have absolute control of that classroom, much like a pilot does when he flies an airplane. Those souls behind him are in that classroom are her responsibility.
No, I'm for school choice. We've got to be able to work where the families can pick where they want to be. And by doing that, you have, and I got to remember the question, so I can't remember the entire question you said.
Sure, what is your position regarding school choice?
So, well then I did remember the whole question. Now I'm down to 5 seconds. But no, I'm for school choice. We need to make sure that the public schools are still funded, and that last bill that came out of the Senate that the House pulled, it checked off a lot of the boxes where it made sure that the teachers were getting pay raises and there was funding happening, and so that way everybody was taken care of. Is that quick enough?
This is a 1-minute question. Do you agree with the concept of education savings accounts as proposed in 2023 by the 88th legislature?
I just kind of answered that. Yeah, I do. So that had a lot of the boxes checked off where the money followed the child, and then it also had safeguards for the school districts that had a stop loss, so that way they didn't lose all the money, and then they were unable to pay for their school buildings that they had bonds to pay on. And it also gave, it was more geared towards the lower income family, economically disadvantaged, so you could actually help an inner city school kid possibly make a generational change to pull them out of a bad atmosphere that they're in, which they would not be able to get out of. So I'm for that, and check that had all the things taken care of that most of the public schools have a problem with.
Yes, the educational savings account, I'm for in concept. There's going to be a huge debate in the next Texas legislature, and I'm going to fight for educational savings accounts and school choice. And like I say, it's going to be a big battle. First thing we have to do is get a better speaker. I was disappointed greatly in the 4 special sessions. I thought, with no disrespect intended, I thought it was sort of a fool's errand to have 4 legislative sessions to discuss such an important topic at that time. And now it will fall to this legislature to do that, and I'm certain that the educational savings account will pass in a form that will be good for Texas.
Gentlemen, the topic now passes to a new topic, Texas electric grid. The question is, should the Texas electric grid remain as an independent body and not be part of the national grid? Why or why not? 1 minute.
No, we shouldn't be part of the national grid. When you have a contained and compartmentalized system, it's less subject to terrorist attack or EMP attacks. Plus, if we turn it over to the feds, well, you know what happens. You know what caused the system to crash last time was the feds required you to run the pumps that pump the gas to the plants with electricity, as opposed to using gas to run them. But when the grid shut down, it shut down the distribution system, and it shut down the whole thing. It was a cascading effect. And then Atmos Energy, now we have this lawsuit where they gouged us for fuel. It's a big issue before the legislature. No. The answer is we need to keep it compartmentalized and local and make sure that that grid is secure and safe and dependable.
All right, so no, I would agree. We need to stay independent. I mean, we're Texas. We're our own country anyway. So we need to keep it that way. We just need to shore it up. I mean, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when it's going to happen again. So we need to shore it up and make it more efficient and make sure it works when it's 5 degrees for 3 weeks. So that never happened in Texas, but we saw it happen. So the answer is no.
What would be your top 2 legislative actions to harden the electric grid infrastructure and decrease its current vulnerabilities? And you have 1 minute to answer this question.
I'm not an expert on that. I would have to use my resources to find out how to go about doing that. So I'm gonna have to pass on the question and look it up and see what the answers would be.
I want to get an Aggie engineer to tell me.
Short and sweet. What percent of the Texas electric grid do you think should be solar panels and wood panels?
Well, solar panels have a place, but solar panels don't provide the type of demand structure. They're a constant thing. I had a visit with Mid-South Electric and some other providers. Mid-South is building a solar field, but it's in no way can it provide the kind of power that we can with the gas-fired turbine. The gas-fired turbine is the most efficient piece of machinery probably devised by man to produce electricity. In Texas, you've got a lot of natural gas right here in my district.
So I would say we draw a blank now. You ran me down a rabbit trail again. Please do.
What percent of the Texas electric grid do you think should be solar panels and windmills?
So I mean, it has a place, but I don't think it needs to be the main source of this. We see a lot of problems with it as it is right now. And not to mention the things that go down when you have the birds and whatnot that land on it. Not that I'm one of those people. I'm just saying things happen that cause the issues, and we need to make sure we're not using it more than we need to.
Staying with the same topic, should the state and federal government subsidize solar and wind energy? 30 seconds.
That would cost you and I money if the state and federal government subsidize it. I'm not for paying for another tax on top of that. So, and we do have plenty of our own energy sources here in Texas, and I'd rather use those than try to make our tax base, not tax base, but the taxes go up for the rest of us.
Well, subsidizing businesses leads to theft and corruption and people who are there to get the subsidy. If something, economics teaches us, if something won't stand on its own bottom, it's not feasible and it's not sustainable. And I don't like subsidizing businesses like that, because when the subsidy runs out, we have a trash pile.
All right, we will move to kind of a quick answer portion of questions. You have 10 seconds. Have you been in contact with the current Speaker of the House, yes or no?
No.
No.
Good. Have you accepted any donations from the current House Speaker, yes or no?
No.
I think we skipped one question.
No.
Yeah. Okay, all right, just making sure. Okay, so the next one is, what personal endorsement are you most happy to have obtained?
Well, I hate to rank them, but Sid Miller is a friend of mine, Commissioner of Agriculture, and he's a conservative and he's a fun guy to hang around. And Sid Miller, he taught me to get into racing.
So I have Governor Abbott's endorsement, Texas Bankers Association endorsement, Independent Bankers of Texas, the Texas Academy of Family Practitioners, and there's a couple, CLEAT, to combine them, law enforcement.
Do you think there was enough investigation done by the Texas House before the Paxton impeachment vote was taken?
No. It was a travesty. It was anarchy. I watched the trial. That's how boring I am. It was amazing that the Speaker of the House was able to mislead the entire House.
Answer to that's no, and we should follow the Constitution and have a trial. And something like that needs to take a little longer than a day and a half.
All right, that concludes our questions. We're going to give each of you 3 minutes for closing remarks to tell us anything you feel like we didn't cover. You want to go ahead?
Sure. He needs water. I think that we can take back Texas, and I believe that we can make our schools great again, and I believe that we can secure our border. It's going to take all of us working together. That's why I'm here tonight. That's why you're here tonight. We have a lot of work to do. And I think it's highly important that we impose, and with the first vote taken, term limits on the Speaker of the House. We don't need to turn over power to that individual and allow the corruption that we've seen in the impeachment proceedings. We don't need to force the other members to kowtow to an imperial leader. This is a democracy where we have a Republican form of government, and the Speaker of the House, we had term limits for the Speaker for almost 120 years, one term. And the House functioned very, very well. And it will again. There's a lot of good people who can preside over the House, not control the House of Representatives. And I believe that will go a long way, whether Speaker Phelan loses or comes back. I believe it'll go a long way to making Texas a much better state. It'll make representatives who work hard to represent you have the power to represent you more effectively. This is something I'm going to fight for. And I ask you to join with me, and let's take back Texas. Thank you.
So it kind of goes back to, I had people calling me last summer asking me to run for this position if I'd ever thought about it. And my wife and I talked about it. I called a lot of, not friends, but associates of mine, because their friends would just go, yeah, sure, it sounds good. So I really wanted, it's people I'd worked on different boards with, customers of mine that I wasn't really good friends with. I wanted their honest feedback, and I've done a lot of service work in my home community for the last 30 years. And they were the biggest remark that was made back to me that actually articulated it back to myself was, Trey, you can help us so much more than you already do with what you've done here. And so that was when I told my wife, I said, I think this is what I kind of need to do, is try to help out on a bigger scale. And the way I operate is anytime we had a procedure or anything to do, whether it was the school district or the hospital or the chambers where we were going to affect the business, I was calling people that it directly affected it. And I needed their input to make sure that I was helping make the right decision that would do the most good for everyone involved. And so, one of my best examples was I was the chairman of the board for the chamber, and we had Sam Houston State that was going to build a conference center, and they wanted me to sign a letter to the chamber with saying, hey, this is a good thing, we need to do this. And I said, I'm not signing anything until I call the hotel and motel owners that have been members in parts of this community for the last 20 to 30 years. And so I started calling them, and I'm thinking I'm going to get one answer, and they gave me a completely different answer. And I called them, and they all said, bring it, we'll all get the overflow, it'll help all of our businesses. And I was thinking they were going to be mad that it was going to take business away from them. I would not have known that if I wasn't calling on them and asking for their input to know how they're going to be affected. And so I took that back and I signed the letter. They never built the conference center, but I felt confident when I signed it, I was not doing something wrong to hurt someone else. And that's the same theology that I will take throughout the district, because I'm going to be talking to everybody and anyone, and I'm going to use everyone I can as a resource for anything, because I'm smart enough to know I don't know everything, and a lot of you are specialists in what you do, and that's the information and the resource that I'm going to need to use. So that's what I take with me.